Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. 5090 O-Level Biology, June 23. Another MCQ paper, question paper 1, 2 will be solved in this video. There are going to be two videos on this paper. As you all know, the paper is for 1 hour and it is the same pattern, but this was the syllabus. The new syllabus was being examined for the first time in this paper. Starting with question number 1, how permeable are the cell wall and the cell membrane in a plant cell? So you know plant cells only have a cell wall, so the cell wall is fully permeable, so it can either be A or B. But then the cell membrane is never fully permeable, it's partially permeable. Please remember, it's not semi-permeable, we don't use the word anymore. So the answer is B, it is partially permeable. Cell membrane, partially permeable, cell wall is fully permeable. And the cell wall is made up of cellulose in plant cells. Then it says the diagram shows an arthropod. Using the key that correctly identifies the arthropod in the picture. Has wings. Yes, it has wings. You can see these wings. So you go to 2. When you go to 2, it has 2 body parts. No, it has 3 body parts. Head, thorax, abdomen. So it has 3 body parts. So you go to 3. Has 6 legs. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 legs. So it has 6 legs. So this is C. So C was the answer. The diagram shows an arthropod. You must know how you go along this classification and how we get the correct answer. Then, which statements about diffusion are correct? Question number 3. Molecules move from a higher to a lower concentration. Yes. So it can be this or this. Only occur within living system. No, diffusion occurs when you're smelling some perfume. That's also diffusion. You put an ink in a beaker of water. That is also diffusion. So it doesn't require a living system. Rate slows down as the temperature increases. No, as the temperature increases, the kinetic energy increases. So the rate of diffusion increases. So that is why the answer is B. It says rate slows down as temperature increases. That's wrong. That's incorrect. Rate does not slow down as the temperature increases. In fact, as you increase the temperature, more the kinetic energy, more the rate of diffusion. Right? Got it? More the temperature, more the kinetic energy, more the rate of diffusion. So you've got to understand that. Okay, now coming to question number 4. Some ways in which molecules may move into and out of cells are listed. One, molecule move from a higher to a lower. Now higher to a lower is always diffusion. Molecules from a lower to higher is always active transport. So it can't be anything else. So then you have to look on which one 2 describes active transport. That's the only one you have. There's no other one which says 2 describes active transport. 1 is not active transport. 3 is not active transport. Because molecules move from a higher concentration to a lower across a partially permeable. So 3 describes osmosis. More water molecules in a dilute solution and they will move to a concentrated solution across a partially permeable membrane, and that has to be osmosis. So across partially permeable membrane is osmosis. Diffusion can be partially permeable membrane can be present and cannot be present as well. Food tests were carried out on a solution containing biological molecules. The table shows the results. Biuret test was purple. So P for purple, P for protein, P for present. Then Benedict is blue, so that means it does not change color, so that means there's no reducing sugar, or you can say there's no glucose. So that is why the answer to 5 is A. The solution contains protein but no glucose, because Benedict did not change color to red or brick red or any other color, orange even, and that would be a positive reducing sugar test, and glucose is a reducing sugar. Question number 6. The graph shows the concentration of maltose produced, that is the product, when amylase digests starch at different pH values. So you've got different pH values, say 1 to 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can just imagine this. And then you find out that the maltose concentration is highest at this. So it's increasing the maltose concentration, and as the pH is increased, then it is sort of the maltose concentration is less, which is being produced at pH say 5 and then 6 and then 7. So what explains the shape of the graph between point X? So some maltose is still being produced. You've got to understand that there's not zero maltose. The maltose concentration at this point between X and Y at this point, I'm just going to rub this off a bit and then make you see it at this. So between X and Y, I mean, there is still maltose concentration, and then the maltose concentration is decreasing and decreasing and so on. So the answers to this, which they're asking you to find out which is the correct answer, the enzyme is completely denatured. If it's completely denatured, there should be no maltose being produced. The enzyme molecules have less kinetic energy. We're not talking of kinetic energy, this is pH. The shape of the enzyme active site is changing and does not fit the substrate so well. So that is why the maltose is being produced, but less in concentration or less in numbers. So the answer is C. The substrate molecules have more kinetic energy. Why? Why would that, changing the pH, why would that result in more kinetic energy? We're not talking of temperature. So that is why the answer is C. Question number 7, the diagram shows a section through a part of a leaf from a dicot plant. Which cells carry out photosynthesis? Now, naturally, one is the upper epidermis, which doesn't have any chloroplast. So 2, and then 3, and then 5, and then 4. So they expect you to really answer which cells carry out photosynthesis. So no chloroplast here. This can't do. Yes, this can do. 3 can do because it contains chloroplasts. And 4 can do because it's guard cells and they contain chloroplasts. 5 cannot do, that's the lower epidermis. So 2, 3, and 4, the answer is C. You see, guard cells, they have maybe not shown you chloroplast in there, but you know that guard cells contain chloroplasts. It's a point of the syllabus. So 2 is the palisade mesophyll, 3 is the spongy mesophyll, and 4 is the guard cell which contains chloroplast. So it's 2, 3, and 4, and so answer to 7 is C. Because these contain chloroplast and chloroplast contain chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is the site of photosynthesis. Now, very interesting question, question number 8. Which row shows why plants need magnesium? You know magnesium is needed for the chlorophyll molecule. So it can only be these two answers. Now, why do we need nitrate ions? We need them for the amino acids, and that is for the proteins. So amino acids, cellulose is a carbohydrate. It only contains carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. It doesn't contain any nitrogen. So the answer is D here for question number 8. Then coming on to question number 9. Now question number 9, root hairs take in water and ions from the soil. Now this is a root hair cell. Why would water move in? Because there's a higher water potential outside than inside the root hair cell. So substance water concentration in the root hair cell has to be lower than the soil. Why is it got to be lower than the soil? Because the constant, otherwise why would water move in by osmosis? And ions move in by active transport, so they have to be less outside and more inside. So the ions are, it says which table to correct concentration of water and ions in the root hair. So in the root hair, the water concentration is lower than the soil, so water moves in by osmosis, and the ions have to be higher than the soil. So that is why it goes by active transport and requires energy and requires mitochondria and requires respiration and requires oxygen. So that is why you have air spaces in the soil, which provided the air, and the oxygen diffuses into the root hair cell, and that results in aerobic respiration, energy being released for active transport. So that is why the answer is A. Now this diagram of course was not given in the paper, but I've just made it to explain this to you all. A herbaceous plant growing in a nutrient solution. So the blue is the nutrient solution, is placed in a well-lit container, and humid air is passed through the container. Humid air means there's air outside, has a lot of water vapors, so water vapors will not diffuse out. So there will be, frankly speaking, no transpiration, because the outside air is so humid, and inside, of course, the water vapors are also, say, 100, and outside is also 100. So why would there be diffusion of water vapors? Please understand, water vapors. So humid air is passed through the container. The diagram shows a section through a part of the plant. So S is the xylem, is the X part in the center, so this would all be the xylem. And then R is the phloem. So the speeds of movement in the fluids and tissues R and S are measured. The humid air is then replaced by dry air, and the speeds of movement of the fluids are measured again. Now, when there's going to be dry air outside, that means the rate of transpiration is going to increase. If the rate of transpiration is going to increase, that means more water vapors diffusing out of the leaf, which means more pulling force on the xylem, which is S. So greatly increased upward movement will result. Greatly released upward movement. All these are wrong. Greatly increased upward movement. Why? Because more water vapor is diffusing out of the leaf. So more water vapor being pulled up the xylem vessel. So greatly increased upward movement, and in tissue R, which is the phloem, there will be little change. So the answer is D. But please understand, this is a very complex question for the O level, not for the A level, but for the O level, this is a very complex question because you are not understanding how transpiration and water movement in the xylem is correlated. More water vapors diffusing out of the leaf, more water being sucked up the xylem. Just like you have a glass and you have water in it and you have a straw in it. So naturally, if you are going to suck it up, all this water is going to go up the straw into your mouth. So a very important question and a very good question. Please try to understand it. Question 11. Some of the nutrients in sweet potatoes are listed. Do you all like sweet potatoes? Yes, I like them too. So calcium, fiber, iron, and vitamin C. Vitamin C. Which nutrients will help to prevent each disease? Now scurvy, you know, is vitamin C. So this has to be 4. Rickets, you know, is calcium. So that has to be 1. And anemia, you know, has to be iron. So that is 3. So the answer is A. Now 4 of the organs of the alimentary canal are listed. Colon, duodenum, esophagus, and stomach. You know, esophagus comes first, then the stomach, then the duodenum, and then the colon. So it has to be L, M, K, and J. So the answer is C. A person who has celiac disease has flattened villi in the ileum. If a person with celiac disease eats the same quantity and types of food as a disease-free person, they will have lower levels of glucose in their hepatic portal vein. Which row explains this? Now I've just drawn a diagram to make you see this. What does it mean, this? That celiac disease have flattened villi. So basically what is going to happen is the surface area of the ileum is reduced. Now there are only 2 answers to this one and this one. Now which one is correct? You see, capillaries do not absorb the glucose molecules. The capillaries are here as well. The capillaries are here as well. Nothing's gone wrong with the capillaries, but the surface area. So the capillaries are present in the normal villi, and the capillaries will also be present in the flattened villi. So that is why the answer is C. You see, this was not being affected. They only told you that they has causes the flatten. If a person has celiac disease has flattened villi, that's the only thing they told you in the question. So why are you assuming things that something would go wrong with the capillaries? So it's a sort of a trick question, checking if your English is good or your understanding of English is good. Then coming to question number 14, which process does not result in an overall loss of energy from the organism? Photosynthesis in a green plant, respiration in an animal, temperature control in humans, the germination of seeds. Loss of energy means you have to find out which are energy requiring process and which do not require any energy. So photosynthesis in a green plant does not require any energy. There's no energy loss. In fact, you energy gain, light energy to chemical energy. So light energy, so which process does not result in an overall loss of energy? Yes, respiration in an animal, energy is released, energy is produced, and energy not cannot be produced. In fact, you can't say the word produced, you can say ATP is produced. So energy is released in an animal. But the question was on this question was which process does not result in an overall loss of energy? In respiration also we need energy. In temperature and control in humans also we need energy. In germination of seeds we need a lot of energy for the production, for the formation of the radicle and the plumule and the shoot and all that. So basically, it's the photosynthesis in a green plant which does not result in the overall loss of energy from an organism. Question number 15. When yeast cells respire anaerobically, which substance is used and which substances are produced? So we know that sugar is used, and we also know that alcohol and carbon dioxide are produced, sorry. So alcohol and carbon dioxide are produced and sugar, so the answer is C. Which word equation represents aerobic respiration? You know it is glucose plus oxygen gives you carbon dioxide plus water. And so that is, unless of course it's something you have to either know it or you just don't know it. There's no guessing game here. Then coming to question number 7. Which chamber of the heart has the thickest muscular walls? Which chamber of the heart has the thickest muscular walls? Now we all know that the heart is made up of two chambers, atrium, ventricle, left atrium, right atrium, left ventricle, right ventricle. So we know that the aorta arises from the left ventricle. So the left ventricle has the thickest muscular walls, so can pump blood to the entire body because the aorta carries the blood to the entire body and all the arteries actually branch off from the aorta. So the answer to 17 is B, which is the left ventricle. Question number 18. The diagram shows the human circulatory system. At which point is the pressure of the blood circulating the blood vessel the highest? We know it has to be the aorta. The aorta comes out of the left ventricle, so it is this one which is coming out of. So question number 18, the answer is A, which is the aorta, which has the highest pressure because the left ventricle muscle is very, very thick and that can exert a lot of force on it, and that is why it results in a high pressure system being generated. So question number 18, the answer is A. Now, question number 19. Which diagram describes the role of a mosquito and plasmodium in the disease malaria? Now, we all know plasmodium is number one, a pathogen, and number two is also a parasite. So the role of the mosquito is it's a vector, the female in fact not any mosquito except it's only the female Anopheles mosquito, so a certain species of it. So the plasmodium is a pathogen and a parasite. It's a pathogen and a parasite, so that is the answer is C, and mosquito is only a vector. So the mosquito is the vector. It is not the disease, it doesn't cause the disease, it just transfers the plasmodium from an infected person to a non-infected person. Now, God forbid I have malaria, mosquito sucks my blood, takes the plasmodium, and then the plasmodium multiplies in its stomach and then migrates to its salivary gland. Now, when it has to suck the blood of another person, it's going to inject its saliva. The saliva contains the plasmodium, so the plasmodium is transferred by the mosquito. But the mosquito, poor thing, is just a medium of transfer of the plasmodium from an infected person to an uninfected person. Question number 20. I always tell you how to read these questions. The bar chart shows the percentage of women who had babies with low birth weight. Some of these women were smokers and some were non-smokers. Fine. Now, percentage of women having babies with low birth weight is in smokers, the percentage was nearly, say, 15%. And in non-smokers, it was only, say, 10%. So they were, in women who were non-smokers, they also had babies with low birth weight. But the percentage of women having babies with low birth weight was more in the smokers. Now we have no idea how many cigarettes they smoked, 10, 20, or did they smoke before the pregnancy or did they smoke just during the pregnancy? We have no data on that. Now, what is shown by the bar chart? What is shown by the bar chart is just what I've talked about it, that the smokers were at a 15% of women. If we looked at smokers, 15% of women having babies with low birth weight. So we examined, say, 10,000 women and we checked when their babies were born, we checked their weight and we documented all that and we had the data on this. So it has to be on a large number of women. We can't just do a data on, say, 10 women or 20 women. So out of the women, we would ask them a question, okay, are you a smoker? So out of 10,000, 5,000 were smokers and 5,000 were non-smokers, or maybe 7,000 were smokers and 3,000 were non-smokers. And then how many of them had low birth weight? So nearly 15% of women who were smokers had low birth weight, and non-smokers were about 10% who would had low birth weight. So I'm just putting these figures because you see I'm given this figure 30 is given to me on the graph. Now what is shown by the bar chart? More women smoke during pregnancy. No, we've no data on that. Does the graph tell you this? No, it doesn't. Smoking in pregnancy increases the risk of low birth weight. Yeah, that is a possible answer because it's just telling us that smokers, in the women who are smokers, there is an increased risk of low birth weight. That's it. Having babies with low birth weight. Now, smoking is bad for the health of a pregnant woman. Well, we don't know. There's nothing about the health of a pregnant woman. We don't have any data on that. Then women whose babies have low birth weight are smokers. No, they were only 15%. There were many women who were smokers, but their children did not have a low birth weight. So all these are wrong, but you must understand why they are wrong. If you don't understand this, I'm sorry, then that is why you end up getting an A and not an A star because you make 5 mistakes in the MCQs, and that is what costs you a grade. So that completes this video from question 1 to 20, and best of luck. And inshallah, I'll continue the rest of it in the next video. Thank you very much. Thank you for subscribing and thank you for watching.